Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another video today. It's another mock draft. I know I just did one, but to me right now, that's not really what matters. What matters was the quality of them. Last one I did was on PFF. I tried to do that one with like trades and all that good stuff, and I don't really think that that is quite ideal. If you guys want to go watch that one, you guys can. I think I got like halfway through the third round and then I stopped because too many players were falling because of PFF's big board. But now we're here on NFL Mock Draft Database Simulator, and in my opinion, they just have a way better board. They keep all these like Drew Sanders. I remember it was Derek Hall that was so incredibly low on PFF, so I didn't even get him selected by the middle of the third round, and he is, I mean, I don't see him dropping past the second round. He's such a valuable and high upside versatile player. So we'll see what happens in this mock draft. But personally, there are so many different things that I have watched, and this is where the personally part comes in hand. So I don't know the consensus right now for many picks because there is so much going on. And right now is kind of like the stir up of the draft, and this is my first year even being involved or knowing even the top 50 prospects in a draft. So sorry if I don't really, don't know as much as you wish about the players, but I do know mostly about the team, what they need, and consensus position at least. So we'll have to take a little look-see into the draft here and look at number one with Carolina. They traded all the way up for this pick from number 9. And is it for a proven prototype or prototypical accurate quarterback in CJ Stroud, or is it for an undersized, not really Frank Reich's type, best quarterback in the class to some people? And I think to most people, Bryce Young is the highest floor, tall ceiling, but CJ Stroud is the more accurate, prototypical size for a quarterback. So he's got the old fashioned model, but he's got, some good accuracy, and that's something to look at as well. But do you value the playmaking of Bryce Young or the precise, passing from CJ Stroud here? And I think size really does come to affect this pick here. When you're talking about Bryce Young, he's 5'10". He measured at 5'10". He measured around 204 or something along those lines in the combine, and he probably won't play even close to that. So CJ Stroud will be the pick here. Frank Reich's Carolina team, they have Josh McCown there as well that can help him out, and they just built a good coaching staff or a good environment for a new quarterback here with this number 1 overall pick. And at number 2, pretty straightforward. It's whoever doesn't get picked at number 1 for me, and that is Bryce Young. I mean, obviously you can talk about the Will Levis or the upside of Anthony Richardson and what they can possibly do for you. And obviously it's not that great. Outside of Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, there's a lot of questions. Here at number 3, I can see about 20 different outcomes. You can take Christian Gonzalez, Will Anderson, Jalen Carter. Those are 3 of them. You can trade with the Lions, even Seattle, Indianapolis, if they want to ensure that third pick so no one else can move up for it. Las Vegas has been seen here probably the most trading up here. But even if the Falcons trade up, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if a countless amount of things happen. But unfortunately, this one we're not really going to go with trade. So Will Anderson, just the first defensive player off the board, someone I really think is probably the safest pick in the draft here. At number 3, you could have traded down, basically gotten the same player, probably, trade down with the Colts, get like a third rounder or something to just move up. And especially if it's a quarterback, you might be able to pry for even more than just that, like, borderline what you might trade at that spot. Because if it's for a quarterback, then you can obviously pry a little bit more out of the Indianapolis Colts. But speaking of the Colts, are on the board, and they have Will Levis and Anthony Richardson to pick from at quarterback if they want to go that direction with these 2 left. If they don't like these 2, I don't really mind them picking a player, outside of these 2 top prospects here. But for me, it will be a quarterback. But it just comes down to what you want at quarterback. Is it Will Levis or Anthony Richardson? 2 very different type of players. But for me, at this spot, it's Will Levis. I know he's not as high on the board, and you don't really see him to Indianapolis too much anymore because I feel like his hype has kind of died down. And Anthony Richardson's upside at the combine really showed, and I think that's kind of what's raising him up the board. So. Also, another great player is Hendon Hooker, who would, without the ACL concern, Hendon Hooker is a borderline first round pick, regardless. But without that ACL tear, he's almost definitely inside the first round for, that's what Daniel Jeremiah said. So, not a direct quote or anything like that, but I believe it. But right here, if you are Seattle, do you let the drop of Jalen Carter continue? Or do you want to take him here at number 5? I've seen him here. I've seen Jalen Carter here at number 5 more than more than you see him anywhere else. And Jalen Carter, to me, as a person working under Pete Carroll and just that everybody on that team and in that staff and in the front office, it really doesn't work for me. I'm not a big fan of the whole situation. I don't think that Pete is one to go out and get. I mean, he drafts personalities too. I mean, we've seen him take the shirt off in the draft room, and when he met DK Metcalf, I think it was. So just a really like personality based and team and organization and coach. And if you want to get Jalen Carter, there are some questions behind that curtain. So if you want to go explore, go ahead, take Jalen Carter. But for me, it's going to be the high upside of Tyree Wilson. I've heard a few people say, I don't even know how he's being mocked inside of that top 5, but for me, what I've heard, what I've seen, what I've looked at here at this spot, he has time to develop along with as a rotational guy to maybe start with. He has a good size, great production at Texas Tech, and tremendous upside, and I think that floor is quite. It's not low, and it's not like completely okay. If this guy doesn't land, he's a bust. I think he'll be good regardless. So it's just how good can he get is the question. Here at number 6, we're taking the first 5 picks very slowly. Here at number 6 with Detroit. They drafted corner, or they didn't draft. They got corner in free agency with Emmanuel Mosley. And that was a 1-year deal, and then they got Cam Sutton on a 3-year deal, which is huge. To play on one side, you lose. I think Amani Oruwariye is gone. You have Jeff Okudah. It's just so tough right here because Jalen Carter makes it. Jalen Carter being here on this spot really sucks. I mean, if you want to talk about someone that can straighten out a guy like Jalen Carter, I think that's Dan Campbell. If you want to talk about a guy that would fit with this team, it'd be Jalen Carter. Give me Jalen Carter at this spot. Imagine a Jalen Carter in the middle of that defensive line with a bunch of rotational guys and, some edge rushers around you as well. They signed back Isaiah Buggs as well, so it's really, really interesting to see how and what direction they're going to go with at number 6, potentially even a trade down spot, even trade out of this pick in general and try to acquire a next year first or something like that to load up for the future. Because at 6 here, you can do so much and there is so much top end talent, but it's whether or not you can, really, really hit the jackpot there. So at number 6, Jalen Carter is the pick. And then at number 7, Anthony Richardson's fallen to the spot. Is he the quarterback taken? Probably not. I'm gonna be all honest with you guys. Seeing Will Levis off the board, Anderson, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, and so that leaves Anthony Richardson. I don't know why I named Will Anderson, but Anthony Richardson is here. Jimmy Garoppolo is at Las Vegas. Maybe you can learn behind him, but you're going to learn a lot as a passer behind him. And I don't really like the idea of McDaniels having Anthony Richardson. It's not really the best fit for you at this spot if you are Las Vegas. I think you can get better in other areas, and I don't think you necessarily need a quarterback right now. And so if you really shy away from that quarterback spot, right here is a trade down spot, because what are you going to do? What are you going to take right here? But without trades and everything like that, give me Paris Johnson Jr., the offensive tackle out of Ohio State. He's kind of, right now, consensus probably tackle 1 and lineman 1, just because of, I think everyone Or at least I didn't know that he played right guard at one point for him and plays left tackle. And then the shorter arms from Peter Skoronski can kind of move him down the board as well. Paris Johnson will be the pick here at number 7. Maybe, yes, maybe even a little bit high, but it is what it is. You can't really say or do much about it now. Pick is locked in at number 7. We took Paris Johnson to the Raiders, and there is still every corner imaginable on the board for the Falcons if they don't want to go that way, considering everyone off the board. Tyree Wilson, Will Anderson's obviously off the board. Jalen Carter's off the board. Anybody else on the defensive line? No. So those are just the top, 2. So at the spot with Atlanta, it gets tricky because Christian Gonzalez is on the board, but Devin Witherspoon has been called the better player maybe a few more times. So it's hard right here. It's whatever one you like more. And I think not the consensus number 1, but I've formed my own opinion over time. And for me, that number 1 is Christian Gonzalez. Number 8, playing alongside AJ Terrell, should be a tremendous cover, duo. And then here at number 9, another potential trade down spot. You can go corner here. I really don't see the worst, that's not a bad idea. I think that they're a little bit more weak there than people really realize. So maybe Devin Witherspoon is, in consideration. Maybe even Joey Porter at this point is in consideration as well. But Peter Skoronski on the board. You like the player, whatever you want to say about him. He's really good, but Myles Murphy also raises a question. Lucas Van Ness also raises a question. Do you want to even reach on Nolan Smith here? Very unlikely, but for me, it's between Skoronski, Murphy, and Van Ness. It's such a tough team to pick for. They have a lot of needs, but it's what do you care about more, actually? So yeah, they are generally weak at corner, so I don't think that they need Peter Skoronski. Lucas Van Ness, Myles Murphy, and Devin Witherspoon, we'll say, are the 3 I'm between now that we move. Peter Skoronski goes out. So we're going to move one by one, even though Myles Murphy and Van Ness are not the same player, but they can play in the same spots. Maybe Van Ness is a little bit more willing of a run defender. I haven't heard or seen much from Myles Murphy, so excuse that, or excuse me for not really paying a whole lot of attention to a guy like Myles Murphy, who's been quite stale. No hype really behind him for a while now. So right here, I'm actually going to go Devin Witherspoon. Just a good pick. Good pick at number 9. I don't think that people really realize how much they need corner. They have Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon. I think that's literally it. So maybe Kindle Vildor can come in and play well for you, but I don't know. I think Devin Witherspoon in corner is just a bigger need than people realize. So at number 9, that will be the pick. And then here at number 10, Bijan Robinson on the board is very interesting, for sure. Do you want Bijan Robinson? Do ya? Yeah, you probably do. You could use a running back, and Bijan on the board is interesting. But back to these 2 guys with Myles Murphy and Lucas Van Ness, and I even think at this point Porter Jr. and Nolan Smith are added to the board here at number 10. But that all being said, who do you think is the safest player you just can't really afford to miss at pick 10, and you also want an exciting player at number 10? And I think Bijan Robinson would really be the safest pick, and I think that he'd be the best pick here. Best player available perhaps is Bijan at the spot. You can get Peter Skoronski even if he's going to sit for a year or two behind, maybe some of your guys that are getting a little older on that offensive line. Myles Murphy and Lucas Van Ness here. It's really hard to determine between what they would want. If Jalen Carter gets all the way to number 10, that's an instant grab. You're running that card in for Jalen Carter for sure. But here at number 10, do we see Bijan? Do we see Porter Jr.? Do we see Murphy? Or do we see Van Ness at this point? I mean, I want to get fun with it. Give me Bijan Robinson at number 10. I don't know if I'm going to really regret that, but I like the pick. I like the player. I like the situation. I like the team. I like the the for sureness of that pick, but he's a running back going inside the top 10, and you know how frowned upon that is in the league due to positional value and teams' needs and whatnot. But they've got the 30th pick as well to maybe get someone that might fall to him, maybe a Brian Brzee. If Nolan Smith continues to fall, Kalijah Kancey on the spot, on that spot wouldn't be all that bad anyways. Your next best, defensive guy would probably be B.J. Ojulari, Keon White, Will McDonald, any of those guys, Felix Anudike-Uzomah. So right now, that's not what we're concerned about. We're concerned about Tennessee at number 11. If I'm not mistaken, they did address tackle in free agency. I can't remember which one they grabbed though, but I'm pretty sure that they covered that in free agency, which is really interesting actually, because I have seen Jackson Smith-Njigba off the board like 3 times here in the last 3 days alone. So a lot of Jackson Smith-Njigba votes here for number 11. So yeah, it was Andre Dillard that they got. Just went and did my research here on their depth chart, and it was Andre Dillard who they got. And they are in desperate need of receiver, for sure. If Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is playing at your number 2, you need receiver. But you have Nicholas Petit-Frere, who might be on the weak side for you as well. Like, he's not as good. So, maybe Peter Skoronski is in consideration here. Treylon Burks has proved to be good. We saw in the last half of that season, or when he came back from the injury, or whatever it was, he looked good, showed flashes for sure, and imagine a player like Jackson Smith-Njigba in the slot. I just think it's such an attractive pick here. I think that it really just eases you in the more and more you talk about the receiving core of Tennessee, and also the talent of Jackson Smith-Njigba and the role that he'd play alongside a guy like Treylon Burks. Be a really fun offense, and it'd be too dynamic before too long, depending on, if we're even going to see Derrick Henry being, they're already shopping him right now. So really interesting to see if that trade ever develops, happens, materializes, whatever you want to say. But here at number 12, a very, very tough pick for the Houston Texans. They've got so many needs still, and you want to protect your offensive lineman there. You sign Laramie Tunsil back to a huge deal for the next while, and then you have Kenyon Green, who can maybe still develop at guard for you. You have, I think Britt is on that offensive line. I'm not sure if he's gone yet. You've got a lot to deal with here if you are the Texans. Forgot they also brought in Shaq Mason as well, and then they can play what's his face, Titus Howard, maybe inside at guard, or even put Peter Skoronski inside at guard and leave Titus Howard off as a tackle. It is such a tough spot here. Maybe Van Ness is in consideration or something like that. I don't think offensive tackle is your worst need, or your highest need, but Skoronski's got guard versatility as well, so something to keep in the back of your head when you're making this pick. If you're them, and if Peter Skoronski's even on the board here. I'm not saying it's unlikely, I'm just saying that in every situation possible, Peter Skoronski's not going to be here every time. Might not be your player. You could maybe use another corner on the other side of Derek Stingley Jr. The fall of Anthony Richardson will continue after not getting taken at Tennessee, by the way, as well. Something to address. Tough spot to pick. It's eeny, meeny, miny, mo at this point for me. Give me Peter Skoronski at this pick. I just think it makes the most sense. You snipe him away from the Jets. Maybe this is a trade down spot for the Houston Texans as well if they're not invested in offensive line. This one needs to just fly off the board. Broderick Jones will go play tackle for New York. They are in desperate need of that. We've seen that all season long. New York just continuously taking tackle with number 13. Whether or not that gets traded with the Aaron Rodgers trade, or if that ever gets done as well, me being a Packers fan, hoping that it does. I know that we can get into that whole thing, but right now, New York Jets take Broderick Jones at number 13. So not bad, not too shabby here. And at number 14, Joey Porter Jr. is just sitting here waiting to get picked. Brian Branch as well. We know that the New England Patriots are not scared to zag when all the other teams are zigging. So at this spot, I wouldn't be surprised with a Brian Branch pick. I wouldn't be surprised with Nolan Smith, Brian Brzee, someone far down the board. I have Deonte Banks going here a couple of times because I really believe in the talent. but not over Joey Porter Jr. If Joey Porter Jr. falls at this point, I think he's probably the consensus pick here at number 14 for New England. And then here at number 15, just mentioned I am a Packers fan. I would be highly happy with Miles Murphy, Lucas Van Ness. Addison I'd be kind of okay with. Nolan Smith, Kincaid at this spot would be quite fun as well. Kalijah Cansey, Brzee. There's so many guys that I wouldn't mind at this spot, and I think one of our top needs is a lot of players available. So right now, 3 of the top needs, or even 4, with Brian Branch, who isn't exactly the prototypical safety. He's more of a nickel corner than anything, but can drop back into a safety look or something like that. Miles Murphy, edge. Wide receiver, Quentin Johnson, edge, Lucas Van Ness, another wide receiver. And then Kincaid and Michael Mayer, 2 talented tight ends. That really comes down to which one do you want more. Do you want more of a receiving threat with Dalton Kincaid, or do you want like a vertical threat with Kincaid or anything like that? Or just the more prototypical tight end role player that can, urge up the seam for you with Michael Mayer if you're going tight end in general. If not, it's such a deep tight end class, I don't think you really need to take one now. Van Ness is on the board, and Murphy are probably the 2 I'm considering right now. Probably not any of the receivers, but right here, it's tough to look the other way from Miles Murphy, knowing how good he can be in both pass and run defense. He can really set the edge, and if he can develop even more as a pass rusher, maybe learn from a guy like Rashawn Gary, and eventually replace a guy like Preston Smith as a long-term edge option for them. Same thing goes with Van Ness. Same thing. Even more willing defensive player that can play the run outstanding, and I think the talent's there and the upside is as well. Give me Lucas Van Ness at number 15. That was kind of the thing going towards the beginning. I'd say probably a month before the combine, that was probably what you were seeing a lot, was Van Ness or Mayer there. And I'm sticking with it. Van Ness, I'd be so happy with that. I think he's fallen enough at 15. I've seen him go as high as number 8 even. So we'll see how that kind of works out in real life. But in this mock draft, we'll go Van Ness at number 15 for the Packers. Here at number 6 is a interesting pick. Corners are off the board. And if you are a fan of Deonte Banks, which I think you really should be here at number 16, I don't really see a problem with taking him. And, Cam Smith on the board, still down the board. Cam Smith, Keely Ringo, and Manuel Forbes. Perhaps even Tyreek Stevenson is a borderline first-round pick, depending on how things really work out, how many teams will take corner in the top 15. We've seen a lot go off the board. Joey Porter Jr., Devin Witherspoon, and Christian Gonzalez. So leading you with the 4th best guy consensus-wise, with or I guess the 4th corner available with Deonte Banks, I think would be the 4th. See, now I could be wrong. I could be taking more, Joey Porter's 1, 2 with Witherspoon and Gonzalez, and yeah, that's all I've taken. So, with Washington, you got a lot of different ways you can go here. Corner, definitely in play. Nolan Smith, I could see in play. Deonte Banks, like I mentioned already, has been in play. But tight end, do they want to go Dalton Kincaid, or do you want Michael Mayer? Logan Thomas is not going to be 32 or 33 forever, and he's definitely hit a low point even last year. So do you want Deonte Banks, or do you want to take more of a skilled position group, like a part of a more skilled position group in Dalton Kincaid or Michael Mayer? Once again, depending on if you want more of a vertical threat or more of the prototypical tight end, not trench player, but someone that is a little bit more dynamic is the word I'd use to use with Dalton Kincaid, and not for Mayer. He's pretty much just your tight end. So right here, another tough one for sure, but give me Banks. 16. I think he even has a chance, like I said, to go 14. I've mocked that a couple of times, and I think it is a little interesting that I think it's a little interesting. He's pretty far down the board, actually, and I almost didn't realize it until I scrolled down and saw the suggestion. I saw Deonte, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's definitely in play here. And speaking about in play, 17, I don't think tackle's in play here. I think at 32, it's more in play than anything else. But at this spot, if you are the Steelers, Yeah, it's a tough one. So this would be a little interesting with a little Pittsburgh connection. Maybe Kalajdzic Kancey to Pittsburgh College to or Pittsburgh University to Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think that that is in play here. I think Bryan Bresee is well in play here. I think Myles Murphy, as crazy as it sounds, is even in play here. And also, as crazy as it sounds, I think Kelee Ringo and Cam Smith, Manuel Forbes, all in play here. A lot of ways to go. You can look at it any which way you want. Offensive line, like I said, probably at 32 if you can get a more developmental guy, even if Darnell Wright is there. 32 and 32, maybe. But Dawand Jones might go even a little bit before that. Anton Harrison is consensusly better than Darnell Wright. I don't believe in that right there for sure. I mean, I haven't really dug into Anton Harrison, but I'm such a fan of Darnell Wright. So at number 17, tough spot. You can go every which way, but I'm going to go Bryan Bresee, Clemson defensive tackle, play interior from alongside Cam Hayward. You learn from the best with a couple of good edge rushers around you with Alex Highsmith as well. I mean, Larry Ogunjobi can teach you as a veteran there as, alongside of Cam Hayward. And then obviously you have the beast of TJ Watt rushing off one of the edges that you're going to be off the one of the edges on the defensive line, that the same defensive line that you'd be rushing off of. Cool. At number 6, we saw Detroit get Jalen Carter. They're on the board for the second pick on this in this first round. And I think Jalen Carter was a tremendous get for them. And I think that they could use, say, another corner. I think that Kelee Ringo or Cam Smith, once again, Emmanuel Forbes, all in play at this spot. But I think Myles Murphy, Anthony Richardson is in play at this spot. Anthony Richardson just continues to really fall. I don't really have a designated team in mind. I think I'll just kind of see how the board kind of feels out. I'm seeing Seattle right here, Detroit, Tampa Bay, even if they want to make that a 3-quarterback race, but we'll see how that works out between Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield. At this point in time, with the Detroit Lions, obviously the corners, you were hoping maybe Deonte Banks or someone fell to you at 18. Unfortunately, goes a little before your pick and leaving you with not a hole, but definitely a missed opportunity. If you wanted to trade back up to even assure that you get that corner, go ahead. Nolan Smith on the board is interesting. Kincaid and Myles Murphy. It's such a tough team. And that huge addition with CJ Gardner-Johnson is also tremendous on that defense. So do you need any more defense? Do you need to add to that defensive end rotation with James Houston? Charles Harris is still there. Aiden Hutchinson. So you have so many notable guys. And do you want to continue to just stack on that? I agree with the whole you can't have enough edge rushers, corners, and maybe wide receivers is probably the other one that you'd think of. But it's such a valid argument to go with an edge player here. But, I mean, at this spot right here, you have Brock Wright as your best option. Give you a vertical threat with Dalton Kincaid at number 18. Probably not likely to happen in real life. All honesty, everything, it's not really leading to Dalton Kincaid. But I just don't like the idea of having another player on that defensive line like Myles Murphy, who will go off the board at number 19. If you can get Myles Murphy at number 19, that is a steal and a half, who's continuously fell through this whole process, and we'll see how that kind of ages. Right here for me, there are 5 players in consideration: Anthony Richardson, Jordan Addison, Osiris Torrance, and then maybe the best linebacker on your board. Maybe Drew Sanders or Trenton Simpson, Jack Campbell, all of them pretty close together. But for me, it's between Anthony Richardson, who has fallen to 20, probably be my front runner for this pick right here, and then Addison and Osiris Torrance when it all really comes down to it. I think those are my top 3, and I'm just going to give them, Anthony Richardson, if he can learn behind Geno Smith for however long Geno Smith will actually be there, not really contract-wise, but be there as the starting quarterback, and before they think Anthony Richardson's ready, I think Anthony Richardson has tremendous talent, and I think that there is a chance that he can continue to develop as an athlete, but to become a better passer as well. And you have a very old veteran that has been virtually everywhere with Geno Smith that he can learn from if he's down to learn from that. And here at number 21 for the Chargers, Jordan Addison just clicks off the board for me. Imagine in a good separator like Addison learning from an elite separator like Allen at the next level should be really good fit. I think it brings speed to the position as well. Jordan Addison, a little bit more of that skinnier frame and something like that if you want to really pay attention to all that. And you can choose to pay attention to that. But we might even see a little run on receivers here, with these next two picks and possibly at number 24. But at number 22, Baltimore Ravens, they definitely need receiver. And I would not be opposed to a Nolan Smith selection here, who's already fallen out of the top 20, which is, I'm not going to say it's unlikely, but depending how many teams still have him in the back of their mind, he's probably top 20 player for them at least. But depending on how things really lay out in this draft is really how it's going to go for him. But Quinn Johnston is going to be the pick here for me. You have a dynamic receiver. He doesn't really, he's really good after the catch. I think that's what really is appealing about him, is a tall receiver that's good after the catch. Maybe you can develop him more as a traditional size receiver that's got elite speed and, after the catch ability. And we'll really see how that translates into the next level. And I don't think you're really taking a shot if you're Baltimore. I think it's how well can you develop him at Baltimore. On the other side of Rashad Bateman, you have Devin Duvernay even in the slot. So didn't really think about going Zay Flowers there. And then at number 23, maybe somewhere you do think about Zay Flowers, maybe somewhere you do think about Hendon Hooker, who Daniel Jeremiah has good insides on the league and says that they're heavily looking into the quarterback class. So maybe Hendon Hooker finds his way off the board. Maybe Daniel Jeremiah has done a good enough job persuading me to do so. But you probably will not have Zadarius Smith. You have Danielle Hunter, and then you brought in... Oh, crap. They brought in someone. I have to really... They brought in Lowry as well as Marcus Davenport. And so they've kind of not addressed the line by any means. Davenport's kind of on that one-year prove-it deal. But I think nose tackle is in consideration here. Maybe someone at the interior. Kalijah Kancey would be a fun player at this spot. I don't think he's really talked about here much at all. And there might be a reason for that, and I'm just missing it. But there is that. And then also they did end up cutting... Cam Dantzler, but they brought in Myron Murphy, so you're really missing on that third cornerback that maybe Emmanuel Forbes, Kelee Ringo, or Cam Smith could be. But at this point in time, Nolan Smith's a good fit. Zay Flowers is a good fit, and to me, it all comes down to who's highest on their board. I think a very dynamic edge rusher with Nolan Smith is enticing, but I think that Zay Flowers can really bring another element, especially with the cut of Eli Thielen. I don't even know who Eli Thielen is. If Eli Thielen is watching this, big respect to you for having a name like that. But Adam Thielen is going to be picked up by the Carolina Panthers. Now a Minnesota Vikings wide receiver to play alongside Jay Jetta's Zay Flowers. Welcome to Minnesota. At Jacksonville... How many needs do you have? How long can you be on this pick? Brian Branch, very enticing. Nolan Smith, very enticing. Everybody in this top 30, 31 is very enticing. 32 at this point is very, very interesting. Brian Branch, you could. Nolan Smith, I can see that. Michael Mayer, of course he's on the board. Kalijah Kancey, of course. O'Cyrus Torrence, I can see that. For sure. Cam Smith, Kelee Ringo, Anton, Darnell Wright, all of them are on the board at this spot, and I don't even know where to go. For me at the spot, it's going to be Brian Branch. It's just a good need. You're getting older at safety anyways. Rayshawn Jenkins, and then Andre Cisco will be there. And, for how much longer, though? This is kind of the question, but younger safety on the other side, and Brian Branch can really drop down and play nickel corner, while Darius Williams and Tyson Campbell can play even outside, but Campbell, I know, can play inside as well. So, Brian Branch just there to help your secondary. All things considered, he's just there to help your secondary. Here at number 25, I think corner and boundary corner at the most has got to be in consideration here For me, that's Cam Smith at number 25, South Carolina, player. Should be interesting to see where he goes in real life, how many teams value him higher or lower than the traditional, whatever, wherever. Nolan Smith continues to fall. Down to 26. We're with the Dallas Cowgirls now, where, who knows where they'll go at this spot with wide receiver. Jalen Hyatt is probably the next best guy with Josh Downs, Tyler Scott. I can't believe Tyler Scott's rated that high. I'm a big fan of Marvin Mims. Jaden Reed down the board is pretty interesting, but no one that you'd really consider here at number 26 for sure. I'm going to go take a little look-see at their depth chart. So for me, it's probably between two players, and that's Michael Mayer. I love Jake Ferguson, but it's probably Michael Mayer and O'Cyrus Torrence. You can even go Kelee Ringo here, kind of develop him over a time. Pick Nolan Smith, kind of learn from DeMarcus Lawrence. Also, you have younger guys like Sam Williams and Dorrance Armstrong there that is kind of repelling Nolan Smith. Kalijah Kancey would be interesting. Neville Gilmore is your interior guy alongside of Osa Odigizua. Not the best interior class, but O'Cyrus Torrence will be my pick here at guard. I know it's pretty boring, but we'll have to take that there. And it's kind of a steal here from Buffalo Bills. But what happens with them, they're going to reach on the next best guy. Steve Avila, one of my favorite, not players, but I don't know, one of my favorite dynamic players in this class. Heard about him being able to play center, guard, and whatnot, and maybe to even do it at a high level. I think you could take that chance at number 27. And here at number 28, here is where everything can change for the Bengals. They've got 15 options on the board right now to make them an even more loaded team, and specifically probably on defense. I know Nolan Smith has fallen way too far. Safety, if you want to come back up and grab Antonio Johnson, you can. After 28, or trade down from 28 to a spot that make you a little bit, better, in a better spot for Antonio Johnson, sure, go right ahead. But here at number 28, one pick before the New Orleans Saints, Kalijah Kancey is the pick. I know it's crazy. DJ Reader and BJ Hill are on that team, but how much longer are you going to keep them around? How long are their contracts going to be there? Plus, Kalijah Kancey could play over a guard as well as play inside. So, oh man, imagine that. Imagine that if you are the Saints here at number 29. I think that this pick has been made for you. I think very much so you can get a slot corner in the future in this draft, maybe second round. Nolan Smith off the board at number 29. Way too low for him. But hey, that is the gift of a mock draft. He's just going to keep falling and then, continue to fall after that. So once someone starts to fall, it's not likely it's like, oh, he's falling, I'm going to grab him. It's normally falling, and then he might fall a little bit more, and then that's when it kind of takes chances from there. Is he going to fall even more? Is he going to take it here? Is he going to fall even more? Is he going to take it here? And then until you find that right fit. And I think two of your, favorite players, if you were the Eagles at the spot, Kalijah Kancey and Nolan Smith, go off the board. What do? You're going to grab another Georgia product instead of Nolan Smith. Go with Kelee Ringo, someone that can develop behind the two corners. He needs the help. Coaching, as long as he can get coached up well, as long as he can learn well from the two veterans in that room, Darius Slay and Avonte Maddox and James Bradberry, I think that you've got a really good chance at developing him into someone that could play for you outside and then maybe even play inside with enough experience. If Bradberry and Slay are going to play outside all the time, say Avonte Maddox's contract expires, he's gone, or one of them retires, he's going to fill in the next best spot. And whether that's inside or outside, I don't know, wherever you think that he'd fit in best. And Kelee Ringo, versatile player, and just a great athlete, I think, can learn. I really want to see him work out in the league for sure. He doesn't drop out of the first round for me. He goes at number 30 to Philadelphia as a developmental corner that has the upside of, anyone in this class for sure. At number 31, it's an okay pick here. If you are the Chiefs, it's one that there is some value on the board, whether or not you want it. It depends on what the team wants, what it likes, and whatnot. So at number 31, you might be a little weak at tackle. Depending on, I know Lucas Niang played well when he was playing, but how long is that going to last? Receiver, imagine Jalen Hyatt on the board at this spot, but Drew Sanders doesn't need to go anymore. Mozzie Smith doesn't need to go. I'm going to look at their depth chart and see what's going on with their team. It's probably going to be tackle, though. They actually have a lot going on here. They did just sign back Derek Nottie as well. Charles O'Menahu's here. You expect him to probably be a good player. Mike Dana can even play well for you. George Karlaftis obviously played really well. Bolton, Chanel, Tranquil, Reed, Edwards they signed. L'Jarius Sneed, Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson are all really good players. Brian Cook to even play backup free safety for you is pretty good. Willie Gay and Nick Bolton, Leo Chanel, and Drew Tranquil. You have a really good group of linebackers. Edge rushers is pretty good. Interior is probably your biggest hole with Derek Nottie and Chris Jones. Brandon Williams, I'm not quite sure who he is. Danny Shelton probably isn't the answer. And then Lucas Niang is your lowest spot here on the offensive line with tackle there. You signed Jawan Taylor on the other side of that. Darnell Wright, I mean, depending on where you're going to play Jawan Taylor, reportedly they're going to play him at left tackle. Is that where he's listed? Yeah, left tackle. I've heard of that more than anything. And so you can get a right tackle, a bona fide right tackle for Darnell Wright, or with Darnell Wright, which would probably be the pick here at number 32 for the Steelers. If it wasn't, picked at number 31, leading your next best guy, I'm going to go DeJuan Jones, actually, out of Ohio State. So that'll be all for, this mock draft. Hopefully you guys can, hopefully you guys can sympathize here and kind of be a little nicer. I'm just kidding. I haven't really got too much hate comments. It's just kind of what we could need and what we don't need from fans of their teams and whatnot like that. And it's not even that too common occurrence to have comments on, mock drafts or anything like that. I think people probably watched about the 5th pick and leave. So that'll be all for me. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and hopefully you guys are considering leaving a like and subscribing. But that'll be all for me. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate every single one of you that stayed, especially till now. That's crazy. See ya.